For today's project, what we're going to do is we're going to create our names using 1-point perspective. So this is a review of block letters. It's also a review of doing 1-point perspective. So you guys might not even remember what 1-point perspective is at this point. So let me just do a quick refresher for you. If we have a horizon line, we can create a dot on it and then create guidelines for things. All our guidelines connect to that dot and place things along here, such as here's our highway, like it's already got dashes. Here's some buildings. I'll make a taller one. Buildings. Let's see. Everything along here follows that and gets smaller and smaller. So these then fade off into the distance. So that they look smaller and smaller. So we've done 1-point perspective before, much more complicated than that. Obviously, that was just really simple and quick. What we are going to do now is we're going to do a cool name design in block letters using 1-point perspective. So, let me just lost. Okay. So if you work in Sketchbook, it might make this really, really easy for you. Sketchbook does have some neat tools to do perspective with, like these perspective guides right here, including this one that has 1-point perspective. So if you go to your little Rubik's Cube looking thing and you choose this rectangular one with one dot, that's going to give you this 1-point perspective tool that then you can move this around. Once you decide where this is going to be, you want to leave it there. And just by generally drawing lines in that direction, it's going to already connect to that for you, so you don't have to mess with the ruler. If you're working on paper, you would absolutely use a ruler. And so I'm just going to use a ruler in Sketchbook to show you. So we'll do this in a minute, but basically with using the ruler in Sketchbook, you use this one to move it up and down, these ones to tilt it around. And then whenever you have it up, you can just draw a line and it's going to be along the ruler automatically. Use that to close it, and then you're back to normal drawing. So before we do any of that, before we get that far, we want to start by creating some block letters for ourselves. So we're going to draw our names. And first I'm going to give myself a rectangle to pretend like this is my paper. Okay, you don't need to draw a rectangle. This is just to show like this is my paper. Working with a landscape kind of orientation is good, or having your paper horizontal, the wide direction, that works best. So you're going to do your name in block letters. You can do both your first and last name if you want, or you can do just your first name. You want to kind of design this and make it cool. You might need to give yourself some guidelines. So if you are working in Sketchbook, I recommend giving yourself those with, some guidelines. I would just go into a new layer if you're in Sketchbook, or if you're on paper, just draw this very lightly. And I'm going to do I'm going to stagger mine. So let's see, I'm going to go up and go like this. So that's my nice guidelines. Move this down. So there's one guideline. And then I'm going to stagger these some. So I'm going to go down. And this will be the other one. And then I'm going to do one at the bottom. Same deal. And again, these are just guidelines for me. And I'm going to erase them later. So I'm keeping all of these on another layer in Sketchbook so that they're easy to get rid of later on without erasing whatever else I'm working on. If you're working on paper, put guidelines wherever you want to put your writing. You'll see mine look a little complicated, but you'll see why I did it that way in a minute. So I'm going to do Mrs. Doc. And so in this top part, I'm going to use this line right here and this line right here as my guidelines. I probably could have done them in different colors just to make it easier for you guys to see what I was doing, but this will work. If I want to, you know, I could still go into my, stay in my guideline layer, and Mrs. is going to be MRS, so the R is going to be in the middle, and there's going to be an M and an S on the side, so it helps to block off kind of your letters. So I'm going to say that's where my R is going to be, and then I'm going to round these so that M, R, S. So you guys see how I'm staggering my letters so that this is going to be a box, this is going to be a box, this is going to be a box, and then I'll have a period right there. I'll probably just do that with a circle to make my life easier. But I will wait and do that in another layer. Okay, and then doc, it's going to be the same thing, but I'm going to do the opposite. So I'm going to go from here to here, and then from here to here, and from here to here. So you guys can see it's going to be like that, and then like this. So, I mean, I could do my whole long name, Docherty, and if I wanted to do that, I would really have to, you know, figure out Docherty, D-O-H-E-R-T-Y, that's 7 letters. So I have an odd number of letters, so I'm going to divide that in half, my 4th letter. So D-O-H-E, E would be in the middle, and I'd put that here, and then I'd have 3 letters on each side, so I'd have to figure that out. So, you know, you want to space it out and kind of give yourself some guidelines. Again, all of this you should draw really, really lightly or have in a separate layer, because you're going to want to erase this later and not see it at all. If you draw super light with your pencil, you'll be able to erase it. If you do not draw light, you won't be able to ever get it out of your paper, no matter how much erasing you do, and it's going to be a lot more work, and it's always going to look dirty and like not erased. So really, really remember to draw this super, super lightly. Okay, now I'm ready to go ahead and start. So I'm going to start designing my letters, and like I said, I'm in a new layer. I'm going to pick a new color just to, I'll just go to black for now. So block letters, actually, let's do this, because some of you guys might not remember how to do block letters, or maybe some of you guys who are new to my class might have never done block letters before. So we'll do an extra layer here, and I'll show you kind of the cheat way to do it. Okay, so let me do this in yet another color. I don't know, we'll just do that. So you could just write your letters. Okay, and I'm allowing a little room here within my boxes, but I mean, it doesn't matter, because if I filled up my whole box with this, then my my outline would be outside of the guide anyway, so they'd all still be consistent in like size and shape. So that's pretty messy S there, but okay. So say I just draw my letters like I normally would. This is Doc. I'm not even going to do it. I'll just freehand the other ones, but just to show you with these ones. So I would do that in another layer if I'm working in Sketchbook or in really, really light pencil, so I can erase it. And then I'm going to go around them, like pretend like these are an electric fence. And I can't touch the electric fence. I'm just walking all the way around the edge of it, trying to figure out, like, is there a way through? Is there another side? I'm going all the way around it, keeping it in even distance from that red part, always, but never ever touching it. So be careful that you don't go across on the bottom and run into the end, because that would zap you, right, if it was an electric fence. So I'm walking around it, sticking close to it, but never touching it. And here, on any letter that has a loop like this, you're also, say you have a friend who's stuck inside. That's why you're walking around. You're looking for a way to get your friend outside of the electric fence. You just go around the inside. They're walking around on the inside, never touching it. Okay, so same deal here. Okay, never touching your electric fence. Then you get to go back and erase. That's why I have it on layers now. See, I'm erasing. It's not going to erase my electric fence or anything that's not on that layer. So now I have a nice block letter. Okay, so that's a really simple way to do it if you don't know how to do it. If you do know how to do it already, you might be at the point where you're ready to freehand these and make them look cool. So I'm just going to freehand these. And you guys might remember having done, I'm just going to put this on, that'll help a little bit. You guys might remember having done kind of street art, graffiti art, styling our letters and stuff to make them more interesting. And yeah, if you remember how to do that, you can absolutely style your letters. You could use any kind of font that you want. This is really, really simple. What I've done, they're just your basic block letters, and I'm trying to keep it simple for you guys so that it's easy to understand and easy to do. Really, if you're working on paper, and I'm just going to even undo some of this right now. I'm just going to turn this layer off and say, like, I mean, you would really, if you're really, really doing this as a piece of art, you want to design nicely. And so, you know, I might get my ruler out for this instead of just having sloppy letters like that. You know, and you guys might want to really pay attention to details like this as well, so that you can come out with something nice and, you know, design your letters so that they're going to look good as opposed to sloppy. Because this is a really neat project, and so, you know, if you spend some time on it, really taking your time and making your letters look nice, then it's going to be worth it. Like, it makes a difference, I think, to have nice, neat letters or nicely designed letters. Again, I'm keeping mine pretty simple, but you're welcome to go as complicated as you want with styling. You know, you can have bubble letters. Honestly, for this particular exercise, it's going to be easier for you to work with letters that have like sharp corners and stuff like that. So instead of just plain old letters that are really rounded, it's definitely going to make more sense to have sharp corners, and you'll see why. Because when we start using the 1-point perspective, those sharp corners will make a difference for us. So that's just something to keep in mind. I recommend definitely using sharp corners, and I definitely recommend taking the time to use a ruler so that this doesn't look sloppy. And I'm just going to speed this up right now so I can get mine done properly and show you guys. Okay, so now that I have my letters drawn, they're a long way from perfect, yes, but they're better than this version of them that I have here. So once I have my letters drawn nice and neatly, then I can start to think about getting rid of some of my guides. So at this point, if you have your pencil guides, if you're working on a paper, go ahead and erase them until you just have your floaty letters. I definitely need to have a period here. That would help if I had a pen on. Okay, so this is dog. Okay, so now that I've got this, I'm going to add some cool shapes and stuff. So you can add some circles maybe, just here and there. Circles, ovals, whatever you want to add. Squares look cool in here, lots of squares. Squares and rectangles. Try to, keep it so that it's not going to get confusing, like what's what with your letters. So maybe add some going up here. I don't know, whatever you like. And maybe I'll add some stars too. So you can use, if you're in Sketchbook, you can use this polyline tool for stars, which comes out really cool because you just go 1, 2, 3. So if you know the basic shape of a star, you can add some of those. That one's, again, not perfect, but doesn't have to be perfect. And I'll just add one up here. And maybe I'll add one over here. There you go. So just some interesting shapes and stuff like that in there. Geometric shapes, the shapes with corners, okay, or simple circles. You don't want to get too crazy with it. You could add some close, like stair step type stuff if you really wanted to, but it's better to kind of keep it simple. So we've already got a lot going on here, and it's easy to lose my letters in here. So that's definitely something that I'm going to want to be thinking about when I color. So I'm going to want to keep my colors here for my letters different than my colors for all my background stuff. So I might think about using complementary colors or something like that, where this would be one part of the color scheme and that would be a different, or using warm and cool colors or some other way just to help divide it up and make visual sense of this, because I have a lot going on right here. So if you're working on paper, this is what yours should look like right now. You should have erased all your extra lines and stuff like that. And if you are working in Sketchbook, you are ready to go ahead and get another layer. And what we're going to do is we're going to choose where we want to put our perspective. Now again, you could use this cool perspective tool and set it to 1-point perspective. And then once I put this where I want it, this is my dot, okay? So I'm going to put my dot right here. Then every line that I draw, like if I go to this corner and draw toward there, it's automatically, see how it's automatically going to make the line in the right direction for me, so long as I'm careful about it. Okay, but again, I'm not going to use that. I'm going to use my ruler. And so I'm going to make these lines pretty thin. So I'm even going to take my brush size down so that they're nice and thin. And I'm going to give myself a dot, again, wherever I want it. Maybe I'll go here. I don't know. So, whoops, it's not making my dot because it's on the ruler and it's not going to let me draw somewhere else. So there's my dot that I'm going to connect everything to. So every corner on here gets connected to that dot now. So you're going to need a ruler for this, and it doesn't matter where you start. but you want to carefully, again, you need a ruler or a straight edge. If you don't have a ruler, it's fine not to have a ruler. Just grab something that's straight, like the edge of a book, or a letter or something like that, junk mail or something that's straight, a box, something, just anything that's straight that you can use to make a straight line. So we're going to carefully connect every corner to that dot. And I'm going to go ahead and speed this up so that you guys can see. So actually, before I speed it up, you might see like this corner would go behind there, so we don't want to draw on our letter anywhere. So if it's going to go into the letter like that, we don't need to draw it. So that corner actually does get skipped, but this one doesn't. We're just going to keep on. So you might notice that I am drawing behind here. So anytime that you're going to go over another shape or letter, you want to stop and draw behind. So in this case, we don't want to go on top of anything that's already here. So these ones are going to go behind those ones. Don't forget your inside corners. Okay, so once you have all of these, all of your corners, so to speak, now you're going to do your smooth curves. Okay, so you want that dot still lined up there. And then you want to line up your ruler on the tangent of the circle, which is just where it would just go right across the edge. Okay, so it's not going to cut through it all. It's just going to go right off the edge. And then whenever you get to any other shape, remember you got to stop and draw behind. So I'm on the edge of that circle. I'm not cutting through. And I'll make my line. This goes for all your smooth curves. So like my letter D here, I want to make sure my ruler is not going to cut through it. And then here is my end of this. And really, I told you to do every single corner because that's kind of easier to remember. Whoops, I'm going to take my ruler off for a minute. But this shouldn't be here. And you kind of have to look at it and see where there shouldn't be, where some lines shouldn't be. Like this is the smooth surface of the D. So I don't want to see that inside line coming through. This is the inside that I'm going to see from there, and this is the smooth surface of the D, and that's all that I should be able to see there. I shouldn't be able to see something else going through. And probably with my M, because this is going to be the side, I did do these corners, but now if you look at it, you're going to say, oh, those shouldn't show through because this is a smooth side of my M. And, you know, it might just take you a little looking at it. Really, I find, I mean, there are some rules you could follow, but it's easiest to just look at it when you're done and go, okay, that really shouldn't be there because this is the side. Okay, so what else? You know, look for things that aren't going to be there. So once you do all your smooth curves, it's going to be easier. So I say do everything first and then erase. So I'm going to go ahead and finish off my smooth curves. Okay, once you get to a point like this, you have to stop and look at it a bit because it does get confusing and you might feel like, you know, some of it's getting a little bit lost in there. Hopefully once you start coloring it, it will also help you kind of keep track of what's going on here. If this looks crazy hard to you, then just when you're doing your original design, put less shapes. The less shapes that you do, the least crazy it's going to be. You can just do your letters if you want to. You don't have to put shapes, but the shapes look really, really cool with it. So I would recommend adding some shapes in there if I was you. But again, you don't have to put the shapes at all. So now, once you have this, again, you might want to clean it up. So if I'm looking at this, I know that this is a curve right here. And if I zoom in on my S, I can see that these two lines should not be here. They came from back behind here, and I didn't really need to draw behind my S and put them in there. I could have just left them out. But again, it's easiest really to see that after. Sometimes when you're doing the lines, it's really, really hard to know, do I make this line or not? You'll notice on all your boxes, it's kind of the three inside corners that are gonna get drawn, and the outside corner, the furthest corner, never gets drawn. So you might run into that. You might notice that as you do it. It does make it easier for cleaning up. Everything gets a little bit messy once it gets into the center here. You guys might notice. And you just want to look and see like what else needs to get cleaned up. And you know, the thing is, for this design especially, at our level of 6th grade, 5th grade, we don't need to be perfect with this. Okay, we're just learning how to do this. So it gives you a really cool effect. If you messed up a line, if I had an extra line on my M, it would just, you know, if I do it in different colors here, it could just look kind of like translucent or see-through, like layers of color and stuff like that. So it can end up looking really cool anyway. So I'm not going to sweat it too much. So now that I've got this, it's already a really cool design, and I get all the fun now of coloring it in. And again, make your letters something different than your shapes, okay? But you just get to color it in, and as you color it in, you color in these sides as well. So I'm going to show you that. Obviously, this won't be the exact same shade as this, but say I decide I'm going to go with warm colors for my name. So I just start coloring in here. And I'm going to go to a new layer, by the way, so that's really important. That way if I need to erase my colors, it's not going to be a big deal. So if this is being colored in, let me put this below here. Okay. Blue there too. No, well, that'll work. Doesn't matter too much. Okay. So now it's not going to be right on top of, oh, hold on, let me get a better brush. That's not going to change my color because it's translucent or whatever. So let me just get a nice solid colored brush to color in with. I don't even know which one's going to be solid. Let's see. I guess we can just do this one and make it bigger. So let's start coloring in here. And let me zoom in a bit. Try and keep it neat. Mine's getting messy already. I'm trying to hurry so that I don't take too much of your time. But, so I color this in. You can always clean this up later with an eraser if I need to. So because I know that I am not in the same layer, so I can erase without erasing my lines. See? So if I color that in this color, then I might want to just go to a deeper tone for my side. So I can just go down here, deeper tone or deeper shade, and start to color in. I feel like that line didn't really get where it was supposed to be there, but so I'm going to just correct a little bit. I just didn't have that corner in exactly the right place. I'll kind of fix that later. So here I'm going to, again, try to keep it neat. And if you're working in Sketchbook, you might have to make your brush really small to kind of get in here in a nice, neat way without messing everything up. So now that's darker. I can also, I'll say like anything that's on this side of my letter is going to be darker. But I'm go right, so I'm going to do this part right here, also being a sidewall of the letter. But I want this other part to stand out because I know that's at an angle from that. And so I'm going to go even a shade darker here just to really show the difference. Okay. And then that starts to give my letter, so I'm using that really dark for these angled parts. I actually prefer this other one for so I can get my dropper because it would be more light on this upper surface, so I don't want it to be super, super dark. I'm going to make that one like that. And now that kind of gives the sense that there's some perspective going on with these letters. So now as I start to color everything in, like my next one. And you know, you don't have to use tones, you could go straight to other colors. So like it could be more like the front's yellow and the side gets more orange. So it's like yellow orange and then more orange, just to keep your colors bright and pretty. It's whatever you like, but you would keep, you know, the whole M somehow similar. And then, you know, do your next letters. And I'm going to just speed everything up for you guys so that this doesn't take forever. Alrighty, and it's done. If you wanted to, like, go in here, like, okay, so I messed up with my layers here. I would probably fix this line where it got buried beneath the color. And you could add patterns, textures, whatever you want to your design to make it even awesomer. You could add shading. You could add so many cool things to just even, you know, bring it up to kind of the next level. But this is your basic design, and I hope that you guys had a lot of fun with it. And I hope you don't get too confused with all those lines. If you get frustrated, just take a deep breath, take some time. It's not that hard, really, once you just figure out where those lines, you know, need to go behind. The important thing kind of as you're starting to draw your lines might be to start working from the center and then work outwards as you start to connect those lines. So it's just kind of another tip, but you saw I did it every which way, and I just drew behind anything that got in my way, or just stopped when I got to something that got in my way. You can always come back later and fill in the lines if you find out that you have a gap there and there should be a line there. But hopefully you'll come out with something with your name looking really super, super cool. Have fun, guys.